Welcome back. Oscar De La Hoya, the winner, TKO 1. Now, Foreman, Morrison, two explosive... Welcome back. Oscar De La Hoya, the winner, TKO 1. Now, Foreman, Morrison, two explosive punches. For you, what could be the key to this fight?
I would have to say George Foreman's sheer style. If you just cast back to Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Kingston, Jamaica, Joe Frazier got bounced around the ring. I think we will see something very similar here.
Morrison got a chance in your eyes or not?
Oh, he has got a chance, but it's not as good a chance as people are going to make out that he's got.
Well, you mentioned a key word there. It's an old adage in boxing, but it's very true. Styles make fights. One fighter who you may expect to win loses, but then beats another guy who you think you should have lost to. It's a strange business. Let's take a closer look now at the styles of both Tommy Morrison and George Foreman, because that's what this fight really comes down to. Who has the style to win?
That might have been the most artistic combination George has thrown in a long time. And there's the left hook, and down goes Garland. As advertised, this is a different George Foreman. He's so relaxed in there. Oh, there is a crushing left hook.
Can an older, stationary fighter fend off an aggressive younger opponent? Can a rising contender handle the pressure of the big event? Will George Foreman's age finally be the enemy within? Will Tommy Morrison's stamina last if he's got to go the distance? George Foreman versus Tommy Morrison. Their styles could create major fireworks.
I think this could be the most two-sided fight in the history of boxing. You could hold this in the phone booth, I don't think it would matter. There ain't going to be a lot of dancing. Nobody's going to mistake this for Roseland. This is a fight, and it's going to be a hell of a fight.
At 44 years old, everyone still talks about George Foreman's power. The power that's made him the greatest knockout artist in the history of the heavyweight division.
A guy that comes forward and he makes things happen. He's a guy that never takes a step backwards. He's a guy that when people pay him money to see a George Foreman fight, they always feel like they're going to get their money's worth because of the fact that they know something exciting and something powerful is going to happen.
Morrison's defense is suspect, and against Foreman's power and mystique, he'll have a big obstacle to overcome.
Well, I think the same problem that I have with George is the same problem that everybody has had, and that's his power. And I think if I can put together what Alex Stewart, what Evander Holyfield did, and put it into a winning repertoire along with what has brought me this far, that's been a very elusive, very explosive type athlete. I think that they have kind of a winning combination.
But Morrison's combinations will have to break through Foreman's unique defense if he's to be successful, while avoiding Foreman's biggest weapon, the sledgehammer jab. The one punch that's like a fine line. It's gotten better with age.
I can hit you with 2 or 3 of them and even whip you all night with it if I'm in good shape. So my jab today is better than when I was young. When I fought Joe Frazier, for instance, I didn't want to land jabs. I would have wanted to get it over with. So I threw a lot of wild shots, uppercuts, and things of that nature. But today, I'm very confident in a jab. But I've had several knockouts, and they weren't by jabs.
While Foreman hasn't seen since fighting Joe Frazier 20 years ago.
My major concern is for Morrison. He has a good left hook. He throws it with authority, and he's confident in it. Every time he throws it, he expects someone to hit the canvas. So that bothers me. So what I'm going to try to do, throw one back at him. Every time he hits me one, I'm going to try to hit him back until he stops.
And when Morrison gets hit by those heavy-handed fists of Foreman and is under incredible pressure, will he be able to stay poised and fire back?
That's definitely the key to this bout. Tommy has to remain poised. He has to stay under control. Obviously, Tommy's the faster athlete. He's got youth on his side, but with youth comes inexperience. He has to grow up in this bout. He has to mature. On the other hand, George is relying strictly on one thing, and that's experience.
There are also several intangibles in the star-spangled battle. the strategy.
Tommy Morrison will come right at Big George to try to land that big left hook that he has, but I think if George Foreman can elude the fight and he takes Tommy Morrison past the third round, the fight is more favorable to him because he's used to going 10 rounds or more.
How will Morrison handle the pressure of the big event? Fighting a fighter who's risen to cult hero status.
Morrison has a tendency, no matter how much he says he's not going to do it, to tighten up in his big fights. If he tightens up and spins himself before he takes George out, he's in trouble. Because George will sense it. If George senses you're in any trouble, he'll put you out of your misery.
And does Foreman underestimate Morrison's power?
In order to stand in front of me, he's going to have to take the same risk that I did. And this is a younger, just as powerful type of person. Different type of power, but it's still power.
I'm going up against a guy who can punch. You can see, it doesn't matter what style he has, what he can do or what he can't do. He can punch. Nobody can take that away from him. And when everything else exhausts itself, you got to still worry about his punch.
So, can the 44-year-old withstand Morrison's left hook? Will the younger fighter freeze and lose his composure against the powerful jab of Foreman? On June 7th, we'll see.
Interesting stuff, eh?
Very predictable. Listen to George Foreman's last few words. Although he was talking about Morrison, he was talking about himself. Once everything is exhausted, the power will still be there.
The power is always there, and that cross-arm defence is so awkward to get past. And if you come at him, he just pushes you away like a little rag doll.
Because he's generally a very big man. You saw the size of his arms there when he was doing the things. The whole side of the arm, everything's the same size as a muscle. Even if that arm hits Morrison, it's going to knock him sideways.
I think if Morrison's got to try to outbox him, but Foreman will just stand there and Morrison will have to come at some point.
Morrison isn't a boxer, so it's going to be very difficult for him to outbox him. His best way to get on top of him, hurt him earlier on, and try and make him weary, and then try and get him. But that's going to be very difficult because he's got to put himself on offer time and time again.
We know about the age difference. Let's look at the weight difference. We all know why Big George is called Big George, due to his cheeseburger diet. So what kind of shape would he be in for this contest? Al Bernstein talks you through George's battle with the scales.
256. George Foreman weighs in at 256 pounds.
256, that is 18 stone, 4 pounds. Big George Foreman, a pound lighter than when he fought Evander Holyfield, so he means business. Morrison had already weighed in. He weighed 16 stone, 2. So there is an enormous difference in weight.
And they are clowning a bit for the folks here, and you can see that as this promotion has developed, of course, it has not been a rancor-filled situation. These fighters have been pretty amiable with each other.
Well, pretty amiable they might be, but when it gets into the ring, it's all going to go off. Now, you wanted to make a point there. You were looking at that.
We just saw, look at the cameras, you just saw we had a chance to compare the two fighters' arms and sizes. It's just the sheer size of the man, which has always been, that was always people's obstacles with him before. You know, a tall, lean fighter like Lennox Lewis. I personally believe you're going to see the replay of Joe Frazier, George Foreman, Kingston, Jamaica, and then we will see a replay of Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, with Lennox Lewis playing the part of Ali.
Yes, fair point.
I believe that.
Let's go across for live pitches to Thomas and Mac. Just limbering up, there's Tommy. Looks like he's saying a little prayer. There's Big George. Always cool, always calm, and a very interested spectator outside. The WBC heavyweight champion of the world, Lennox Lewis. And as we've said, if Morrison beats George Foreman, there is an agreement in existence. He will fight Lennox Lewis. If Foreman wins, well, we don't know. George has said it's his last fight, but we don't know, do we?
No, it won't be provided he wins. There's too much money on offer.
I think that was Jackie Callan there, James Toney's manager. Do you not think, though, that Foreman has gone to the well too many times? He might go there once more and it could be bone dry, because he had trouble with Alex Stewart, didn't he?
Yeah, but sometimes some people, if you keep going to the well, you're not going to, it's too deep to see when it does actually empty. So you're not going to realise till you scrape the bucket down and you can't have a load of dirt. And that won't happen, well, it might not happen this time, but I see it happening in the very near future.
Right. Well, we're going to take a final break before the battle for the vacant WBO heavyweight title. George Foreman against Tommy Morrison. And if I said they had 99 knockouts between them, I think that guarantees you an explosive contest, so don't go away. We have Tommy the Duke Morrison in the ring, live and exclusive pictures from the Thomas & Mack Centre. Big George is just around the corner. I'm going to go with Gary Mason. I think George just knows enough. Let's join your commentary team, Ian Darke and Glenn McCrory. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much indeed, Gary. So, Tommy the Duke Morrison is in the ring for what is certainly the biggest night of his career so far. Is he just an overhyped white hope with no real world class? We're going to find out tonight. Here's George Foreman. No nonsense from him. 44 years of age. It's incredible to think that it was 20 years ago that he became world heavyweight champion on that famous night when he dumped Joe Frazier repeatedly on the canvas. Star of an era of Ali and Frazier, and even when Henry Cooper was around. Big George Foreman. And he's weighing a pound less tonight at 18 stone 4 than he did when he put up that tremendous battle against Evander Holyfield. That's the only defeat in his 29-fight comeback since 1987. He made his professional debut before man walked on the moon. He won his Olympic gold medal before Tommy Morrison was even born. The phrase living legend is a cliche, but there's no denying it applies to this man. And there's the tail of the tape. Look at that, a 20-year age difference. Morrison 24, Foreman 44. Foreman the taller man too, and weighing 30 pounds heavier than Tommy Morrison. Big differences. Is Foreman too big, too strong? Has Morrison really got a suspect chin? One of the key factors, I think, in this fight, I don't know if you agree, Glenn, as we just look there at the rules for the three knockdown rule in effect, I think one of the key factors in this is Morrison resilient enough to live with Foreman's big, strong punch power?
Well, that is the question. What is going to happen with Tommy Morrison when Foreman lands his big shots? Is he still going to be standing? If he is, then I think Morrison's got it in the bag. But it's just, can he take Foreman shots? It is a big question. Absolutely amazing to see that it's 20 years later and Foreman's 20 years older than Tommy Morrison.
The other question, of course, is Foreman pushing his aging body into a fight too far? He certainly looked a grotesque sight at the end of his fight with Alex Stewart last year, but since then he has beaten Pierre Kurtzer quite comfortably. But how long can he go on defying all known rules of aging fighters?
It's amazing. You wouldn't think that a fighter could do it. 44 years of age, and he's back in there with a heavyweight title fight 20 years later. It's unbelievable. And I think that's got to be the big question mark. Is he too old? Is time running out? Can he still do it? We know he's got the power, but can he, is the younger man going to get it?
They're fighting for the WBO version of the World Heavyweight Championship. I think nobody's in much doubt that Riddick Bowe and Lennox Lewis are the true claimants to that particular throne. The actual title, if we're frank with you, doesn't mean very much at all, but the fight is one of the very best of the year, and it's very, very significant because the winner may well be lined up to fight Lennox Lewis or Riddick Bowe, particularly if Morrison wins. October the 15th is being mooted as a possible date for Tommy Morrison against Lennox Lewis in Lewis's next defense, but it's a pretty big if.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Arum's Top Rank Incorporated, in association with the Colonel's Secret Recipe at Kentucky Fried Chicken present 12 rounds of boxing for the World Boxing Organization Heavyweight Championship of the World. This bout is sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission, Chairman Dr. Elias Ghanem, Commissioners Nat Carasali, Bruce Lane, Luther Mack, and Dr. James Nave, Chief Inspector Mark Ratner, WBO President, former light heavyweight champion Jose Torres, WBO Supervisor ringside Alberto Aleman. Physicians in attendance, lead physician Dr. Flip Homansky, Dr. James Wish Game, and Dr. Robert Boy. The timekeepers are James Cavan and Mike Lasella. The scoring for this bout would be done on a 10-point must system, and the 3 judges assigned at ringside are Patricia Jarman, Jerry Roth, and Dalby Shirley. And when the bell rings, the man in charge of the action, referee Mills Lane. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from Las Vegas, Nevada, by way of the Las Vegas Hilton, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with stars and bars, weighing in at 226 pounds, this knockout artist has a professional record of 36 victories with 32 KOs against only 1 defeat. He comes here tonight from Kansas City. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the #2 ranked heavyweight in the world, Tommy the Duke Morrison. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the white trunks and weighing in at 256 pounds. We have the 1968 Olympic gold medalist, who now as a professional is 72-3 with 67 KOs, which is the greatest knockout ratio in heavyweight history. Ladies and gentlemen, from Houston, Texas, presenting the former heavyweight champion of the world, Big George Foreman.
Foreman completing and looking totally different from the scowling, brooding heavyweight champion of the 1970s. Smiling all over that big man in the moon type face that he wears these days. He's become a cult figure in America. His TV ratings are enormous. He's even going to have his own sitcom on ABC in the United States. That's how popular he is.
He goes right here. I'm not going to call it low. Right here is going to be all right. Now, you've already had your instructions 1 time. This is for the championship of the world. I expect a tough, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. Any questions here? Any questions here? Let's get it on.
So we're all ready. The WBO Heavyweight Championship vacated by Michael Moorer on this Bob Arum promotion in conjunction with the Las Vegas Hilton. Referee Mills Lane. Regarded now as the #1 fight referee in the world. And if you need identification, and surely you don't, Foreman in the white trunks. Key moment in this is what happens when Foreman starts to land with his bigger punches. Morrison is a pretty big hitter himself, though, and he's devastating with the left hook.
Yes, both men rely on the big bombs. It's who's going to get theirs on first.
Foreman, as always, employing that crisscross defense, Archie Moore style. It's difficult to get punches past it, as Evander Holyfield found out. Foreman, who it's reckoned has made something like £33 million out of boxing. Which raises the question, how much desire will he have left at the age of 44 if it starts getting tough late on?
Foreman already using his strength, trying to push Morrison out of the way, push him off balance.
It's Morrison's second attempt at this title. He had a very damaging defeat against Ray Mercer, and you wondered if he'd ever come back from that, but he's strung together 9 victories since then. Although he did break his jaw and a hand against Joe Hipp.
I think he has looked much improved since the Mercer fight. But this is his big test.
Good fast hands, Morrison, with that left hook.
All right, ho. There you go, Tom. One step ahead. Come on.
Two good, sharp little left hooks getting through from Morrison. I think Morrison's game plan includes trying to use his speed and not stand there in front of Foreman, to try and be as mobile as he can.
Well, at the minute, he's using quite good mobility. He's keeping on the move, he's using that head, and he's trying to bring them big punches in from distance.
Good first round for Morrison. He's got through with quite a lot in the second half of the round. A couple of left hooks and 2 quite big rights too. And I think Morrison did the better work in that opening round, Glenn.
He did. He certainly scored with the better punches. You know, his plan was quite good. He kept moving his head, kept the target out of range, and then he let some big shots go.
Sucker you, just keep your hands up. That's all it's all about.
Great trainer, Angelo Dundee.
Everything pretty. Everything pretty. I see it.
Since you're going to set up that hook. 7-7-2s to body, 7-7-2-1s.
Relax, baby.
Any combinations, go to the body first, come up to the head. Bring his hands down. Doing a nice job, real nice job. Good and relaxed, good and relaxed. Keep that 7 coming back high. When you feel yourself in the corner.
Both corners seem pretty happy with the way their men are working after that first round. Morrison and Foreman have both been very relaxed and giving quite a performance in the build-up to this fight. But the result is absolutely crucial, particularly for Morrison. It's his gateway to stardom. Bowe and Lewis are almost in a scramble to sign him up if he wins. He can write his own checks almost. Will his youth and ambition prevail?
And Morrison's landing with some good shots, some nice fast counters. And he's switching from head and body.
Foreman, as you'd expect, looking portly by comparison. Good right hand again getting through from Morrison. He started well, but he did start very well, if you remember, against Ray Mercer too, until Mercer caught up with him. And let's face it, Mercer's limitations have been pretty severely exposed since that win over Tommy Morrison. So that was a bad defeat.
That's right. Mercer started Morrison started very good. He's getting his shots off well. He's using that jab, and then he's come out with some good counters. But I think everybody's just waiting to see what happens when Foreman starts landing.
George looks as if he's just taking his time so far, biding his time. He never looks remotely ruffled, does he?
He doesn't. He's very cool, very professional. He's been around for a very long time.
Since 1969, to be exact, as a professional. 24 years. Although there was a 10-year retirement in the middle, of course. just starting to get that very, very stiff jab of his into action in this second round. But it's been a confident start by Morrison. Now Foreman starting to land, and just listen to the crowd. You can tell who most of them are supporting. I told you Foreman was a cult figure in the States.
And you let him get off first.
A look back at some of the action from round one and the really good fast left hook from Morrison.
He's doing that well when he's putting some shots together very quickly, very strong. I think that's what he's got to do with Foreman. He's got to try and let shots go in clusters. Foreman had a bit of success there at the end of that round.
Thomas and Max Center looking very full. It holds 19,000. Third round. George Foreman in the white trunks. Both Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe watching at ringside, along with a host of film stars and celebrities. Gene Hackman and Magic Johnson, just a couple of them. Good body shot from Morrison there.
Hey, get him up, come on.
And keep the punches up, Nors Lane saying to Morrison there. He suspected that left hook was a bit low. Short little right inside from Foreman, showing that he could be dangerous. Morrison taking the shot and coming back.
He come back well there with a combination of his own. He's got to do that. He's got to keep firing back at Foreman. Foreman's so used to hitting people and then falling. If Morrison can come back after a Foreman combination and throw good shots, he can catch George.
It's one of the big raps against Morrison is that, in plain language, he's got a bit of a glass jaw, that he's easy to put down, but he, of course, has had the habit of getting up to win, as he did against Carl the Truth Williams. He's already taken a couple of heavy-looking shots from Foreman and come back pretty well, so the early signs, not bad at all for Morrison. But it is early.
Morrison's moving the head well. He's got to keep that movement. He's got to keep moving around the ring and keep moving his head from side to side. Can't let George Foreman tee off on him.
Mobility is a key word for Morrison in there.
And that's one of the things that people said Morrison couldn't do. He said he couldn't box. He's mixing his shots up now, Morrison. He's landing to the body and the head.
What he mustn't do, of course, is slow down and become a stationary target for Foreman. At the moment, he's making Foreman work hard, chase him around the ring a little bit to land the shots. Morrison's just outworking Foreman so far too, isn't he?
He's landing with the cleaner shots, he's landing with some good jabs, and he's getting his combinations off.
Fascinating fight so far. Action from the third round here.
That's where we're seeing some good Morrison body shots. There's not many fighters have managed to land to George Foreman's body, but Morrison at the moment is doing it well.
Standing by for round four. Foreman, who's only lost 3 fights out of 75 in his long, long and distinguished career. Foreman, a man who holds victories over the likes of Frazier, Ron Lyle, George Chuvalo, Ken Norton, and Chuck Wepner. Names from a bygone era.
Punch out, two hands are free.
Foreman's trying to use his strength. I think he often does, pushes his opponents off balance. And very rarely gets warned for it.
Morrison, not quite so mobile in this round. And Foreman beginning to find his target with increasing regularity. More ominous signs for Morrison in this round 4. Foreman, who's built like an oak tree. Foreman is closing him down in the corner there. Morrison wise to get out of that particular hole.
Yes, he can't afford to stand against the ropes with George Foreman. He's got such immense power. He's got to keep that head movement. He hasn't got to let Foreman tee off him. He's got to try and use that jab more and put his shots together. You heard Morrison's call in the interval asking for more shots. I think they want to see their man put them together in clusters. George can get out of the way of 1s and 2 shots, but Morrison's got to throw in 3s and 4s.
This was the round where things started to go wrong for Morrison in quite a big way in the fight with Ray Mercer. He's just slowed down a bit noticeably in this 4th round, Morrison. Foreman just carries on fighting at the same pace. It gives the impression of a man who feels he's in control of his destiny. Last 10 seconds of this, the 4th round. And it's been Foreman's best round yet. Waiting for the 5th round here. Foreman not bothering to stand, or sit down rather, between the rounds.
To the punch, anytime you feel trapped. Being to the punch, fake slant, double center.
Time, let's go.
That jab, baby.
This is George Foreman's office.
I sense Morrison's corner's getting a little bit more disturbed with Morrison's tactics. He's beginning to stand in front of George. He's beginning to stop moving his head, stop moving his feet, and you know that's a losing plan.
Oh, that's a good shot from Morrison, that left hook. That was his best punch so far. Foreman always said when he started his comeback he didn't really want to go into the ring with punches, but of course he did that when he fought another white hope in Jerry Cooney, and he did an absolute demolition job on him in Atlantic City. The finish was chilling. Again, Morrison, left hook, finding its target.
The good shots from Morrison, but if you notice, they're all single shots. He's got to put them together. He's got to try and catch Foreman with a combination of big punches. Nice jab from Morrison, but it's been noticed for the last couple of rounds that he hasn't used that jab as much.
Morrison now has landed with 3 significantly heavy headshots, but now he has this habit of just looking away from Foreman as he breaks away from clinches, and Foreman, I think, had noticed that and cuffed him.
He cuffed him with a jab, and Morrison seemed to turn all the way around there.
particularly dangerous habit, I would think, is to turn your back on George Foreman when you're in the same ring as him.
A dangerous habit to get in the ring with George Foreman.
Sort of. Foreman's gloves are just beginning to drop down to waist level in this round. He usually employs his crisscross defense, and Morrison has taken advantage of that with some good hooks to the head in this round. Stamina is, you feel, going to be quite a factor in this fight as well. How well is George Foreman going to be able to last at 44? We said that when he fought Holyfield, and the answer was very well indeed. Morrison's stamina, they don't really know about.
Well, no, there's these big question marks there. We've seen in the Mercer fight where he's run out of gas. And he's starting to look a little bit tired now. Foreman puts so much pressure on him. He doesn't always do it with punches. He does it a lot of time with his feet. He keeps chasing his man. He keeps putting the pressure on with the foot just by his sheer size. You know, forces the opponent to throw shots, forces the opponent to get tired.
Okay. Very good.
But we need combinations, punches and bunches. Lead with speed, follow with power. Lead with speed, follow with power.
Now that sounds like something from the gym that they've been working on at the Virginia Military Institute, where Morrison has been involved in a very Spartan training regime. Now there's where he got caught turning his back on Foreman.
That's right. He just went on a walkabout and got caught with a big jab.
Walk with the
Turned
jab,
him all the way
baby.
around.
When he tries to force the issue, come at him with combinations. 7-7, everything behind.
Morrison gets up trying to remember that script.
It's very hard to remember all of that.
Round 6, coming up towards the halfway point. A lot of people thought this might be over before now.
But what the corner were asking for was for Morrison to use the jab and then keep throwing, trying to throw combinations in bunches. There's too many single shots.
Well, that's a low blow from Foreman.
Come on, let's go, come on.
Morrison, whose career has been piloted by Bill Caton, one of the men who was behind Mike Tyson on his rise to the top. Film star, good looks, very marketable. A lot of people would like him to win here because it could engineer some big money fights with the Bows and Lewises of this world. Whereas Foreman is again flirting with retirement. Quiet round. Work rate of either boxer not particularly high in this one.
Foreman makes his opponent work that much harder because his opponent has to get out of the way.
Foreman at times gives the impression of some big jungle cat pouring his man around, waiting to produce the claws for some kind of knockout blow.
He does. It's just persistent strength. He just keeps walking forward with this immense power. Just keep banging at his opponent till the opponent just has enough, and then he puts his shots together.
He's not really doing that much in this round, though, to be honest, is he?
He's not. I mean, Morrison should be doing more because Foreman's walking forward, not throwing a lot of punches, but Morrison must be getting tired because he's not getting his shots off.
Morrison landing with the more significant punches to the head for my money in that round. You're looking at action from the 6th round. We're at the halfway point of the contest.
I think Foreman's just starting to get Morrison certainly more tired, but he's starting to get through with some better shots.
Just into the swelling underneath the eyes of Foreman, I think, as well, too. He's beginning to just tough up a bit, isn't he?
That's right. That right eye looks as if it's starting to close just a little bit. So obviously that jab from Morrison is taking effect.
7th round. Morrison looking to let go with those big left hooks of his. And the right uppercut too. Oh, and Foreman maybe just beginning to ship a few too many. That high-held guard of his that served him so well on his comeback. Oh, he's walked right into another right hand here.
Yes, them shots are definitely hurting Foreman. He comes back with 2 good ones.
Now, can Foreman, at this advanced stage, come back with anything?
Morrison's going to keep trying to throw them bombs. They definitely had an effect on Foreman. We've seen his legs did seem to tremble a bit.
So far, so good, really, for Morrison.
I think so. Certainly in this round, he managed to get his shots off. And they definitely hurt George. He hasn't done a lot since then. But Morrison isn't doing anything either. A short chopping right hand from Foreman.
Again, Morrison's left hook. Foreman is walking forward, but he's not really doing enough. That's how it looks to this observer, anyway. I think he's having a bit of trouble with Morrison's hand speed.
I think he is. When Morrison lets them big shots go, they're very fast, and they have landed on Foreman. But Morrison hasn't got to go to sleep. He's got to keep them going.
A juicy looking right uppercut from Morrison as well.
It was a good shot. He just chipped it through the middle of Foreman's guard.
It's a big round for Tommy Morrison. Round 7.
Come on.
Okay, Tommy. Here we go. I got you, buddy. Looking good, baby. Hey.
Well, they're working on that eye.
It's your fight.
Now, let's have a look at...
I want you to take 30 seconds.
My unofficial scorecard so far.
I have to have more.
I have Morrison in a very handy lead at this point. Glenn McCrory, what do you think?
I'm disagreeing with you yet again. I have the fight very close. I have it level on my score.
That's quite a big difference, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Well, it's what makes the world go round, and we see big differences in judges' scores. To my way of thinking, the significant headshot so far, there was a blow in the eye there for Morrison. The significant blows, or the more significant blows, have come from Morrison, but Glenn is seeing things a bit differently. 8th round.
Yes, well, I agree with you in the last round. Morrison had a good round there, but the 1-2 is not. I just felt that Foreman was starting to creep back. He had to get in the fight a little bit, use the jab, use his power.
All right, George,
Morrison wasn't doing that much.
Come on. All right.
putting them together quite well there. The head and body. Morrison doesn't want to be eating too many of those. He mustn't stand there and allow Foreman to ram in that very, very stiff jab of his, one of the best jabs in world heavyweight history. Morrison looking puffy around the eyes.
And he's looking tight. You can hear his corner there.
Oh, that's a low blow. Very low. And
very
Foreman,
low.
Foreman holds his hands up straight away to admit it. The situation here is that there cannot be a disqualification on this. Morrison will be given up to 5 minutes to recover.
You can have it in 5 minutes.
Tommy Morrison just being told that by Mills Lane now. Look at this.
That's the second one. Next time, it's going to cost you a point, okay?
Very bad shot. He'd already been warned a couple of times.
10 wins ready. That's the second one. Next time, it'll cost you a point. No point yet, okay?
In days gone by, of course, that could have led to a straight disqualification, but these days it's a record that the protective equipment is good enough to allow the boxer to recover. Angelo Dundee has seen it all before, of course.
Hey, there you go. Hey, hey.
There is the swelling by that right.
Yes, definitely around the right eye. Foreman is swelling up. Just before that incident, you could hear Morrison's corner shouting out very loudly to move the head, which was something he'd stopped doing before, but he's now doing.
Good elbow.
He does occasionally give that impression, Morrison, of a novice trying to remember what the plot was. It has improved dramatically, I think, in the last year or two.
I think, yeah, since the Mercer defeat, he has come on quite a bit.
An elbow down in there. That's those heads. What's the head in there?
Short little right from Foreman. He worked inside. Good looking punch.
Morrison can't afford just to move the head and not do anything. He's got to keep taking away the shots. Whether it be a jab or a hook, he's got to keep working.
Those who said that Morrison, with his suspect chin, would be blown away by Foreman's power have, I think, already been proved wrong. He's taken a lot of those punches and answered a few questions about his chin. End of the 8th round.
We're going to have to steal each round now, okay? At the end, you're going to steal it with combinations. Now, look, he's slow. He's frustrated, but you got to start picking it up. 4 rounds to go. We got that all day long, right? We got that all day long. Ain't nothing to it. You got to rest in between. Hell, you've never had that in practice, right? Okay, now, I need combinations. I need everything with speed, finishing out of the middle, okay? Don't worry about
I mean, slip to his left, short right hand. Okay. Just keep your hands up.
All right, come on.
Three punches.
Give him the mouthpiece.
All right, John, I got it.
Close your mouth. Come here, son. A little more. That's it.
I want you.
Must be quite a long time since anyone called George Foreman's son.
I think there's only Angelo Dundee could actually do that.
9th round coming up. And as you've heard already, different interpretations, even between myself and Glenn McCrory, as to how this is going. Morrison's left hook. These 2 big punches have proved that they've got a bit of resilience as well.
Morrison started this one very well. Finished fast throwing that left hook. I'm not sure what Foreman was doing there. Some kind of little dance he seemed to be doing.
He seemed to be just rubbing his boots on the canvas. I don't know whether he was feeling he wasn't getting sufficient grip.
It's It's a dangerous ploy Morrison does when he just goes on walkabout. He just seems to take his eyes off Foreman a little bit.
His hands are in there, guys. Punch out. Your hands are free.
Oh, and Morrison with a peach of a right uppercut. He must feel sometimes, though, as if he's throwing punches at the side of a mountain. They just seem to bounce off Foreman, those shots.
He's so big, so strong. But Morrison's just got to keep at it. He's doing well. I've got him now 1 round ahead. He's just got to keep throwing them shots, letting them combinations go.
It's been a pretty good performance by Tommy Morrison in here. Whether it's going to be enough, we'll find out over the next 15 minutes or so. Good combinations, which is just what his corner was asking him for.
That's what they asked him for, and he's answered them.
Times he's making Foreman look a little bit one-paced and pedestrian.
He is. Certainly this round, Foreman has done very little. Morrison's used the jab and then started to put his shots together in combinations, which I've been wanting him to do in his corner, certainly been wanting to do. He's had a lot more effect when he does that, when he lands them 4 shots.
Hey, come on, hit on the break. Come on.
Don't hit on the break, says Mills Lane. It's that Foreman jab, which Morrison has to eat that time. Morrison's round, I think.
Don't let him creep in on you, okay?
Tommy Morrison
ahead.
In his corner.
Move away, set up.
Reflecting
set
on
up
what
quicker,
seemed like another pretty good round, though,
tall.
in the George Foreman corner. Between everything seemed sweetness and light, with Angelo Dundee saying, "You're beautiful, baby," to George Foreman.
So I don't know whether that was just respect from Angelo Dundee, because certainly in that round he wasn't beautiful. He didn't do that much, and that was definitely a round for Morrison. So I just don't know whether, you know, he's happy that George Foreman's doing this, and what he said is going to be, you know, maybe his last fight.
10th round.
7, 9.
This could be the fight that makes Tommy Morrison.
Come on, let's go, come on.
Judge for yourself what you think might happen if he was in with a Lennox Lewis or Riddick Bowe. But he hasn't got to worry about that for the moment. It's George Foreman that's on his mind.
Well, again, we've said that Tommy Morrison has shown us one thing, that he's much improved. And should he come through this fight with a win, I think it'll do his confidence a tremendous amount of good.
Foreman is starting to do a wee bit more.
And Morrison's got to keep them punches coming. He's got to keep them coming in combinations.
That was another low-looking blow. Now, is there going to be a point deduction here? Or is that a distress sign from Morrison? Some might interpret it as that. We'll see. Mills Lane did threaten to deduct Foreman a point if there was another low blow. He clearly didn't think it was.
And you can hear the cheers from the crowd. I think they sense that maybe Morrison is getting a little distressed.
Is Morrison's stamina starting to fade? He hasn't been quite so mobile in this round, and he's looked just a shade more disorganized. And again, he takes his eyes off Foreman. here senses that Morrison just hasn't got that same sharpness about him. He's been pacing it, but he's just stepped up the gear a little.
That's going to cost him a point. That's going to cost you a point.
Foreman is having a point deducted. A point deducted. Well, he warned him. Another one strayed low. Foreman 1 point off. Now that could be important.
Yes, I think that would be very significant.
Scenes from the last round, the 10th, in which George Foreman had a point deducted for a low blow. He was caught with that left hook as well. And it was the third time that Rose Lane had warned him about straying low.
Don't count, right? Don't be ashamed of yourself.
Yes, I think Foreman's done it enough to warrant a warning.
11. On my scorecard, I have Morrison still ahead in the fight. What about you, Glenn?
Yes, I've got Morrison ahead. I've got Morrison 3 points ahead.
Could we be witnessing the final act in the remarkable ring career of George Foreman? You can say that Morrison is overhyped, and he's been getting chances that maybe his talent hasn't always deserved because of his marketability. But there's no questioning this fellow's guts, character and courage. He's shown it before, and I think he's shown it again tonight.
He certainly has. He's done everything right. He's answered a lot of questions. He's boxed quite well. He's moved a lot better than I've ever seen him before. You know, he's listened to the corner when they've asked him to move his head, when they've asked him to throw his shots and combinations. He's a much improved fighter.
Morrison guaranteed $1.25 million from this fight. Foreman $7 million. They both will get quite a big slice of the earnings from pay-per-view TV across the United States. Again, he just has that habit of glancing down at the floor and taking his eyes off Foreman. One of those little idiosyncrasies, but not a particularly clever one.
Well, I think it's because he's not a natural mover. He's not a natural fighter who has good footwork. So really what he does is he's throwing his shots and then he walks away. But it's working at the moment because Foreman isn't rushing in to follow up. It's noticeable that Foreman during this fight hasn't been able to pick up the pace.
The crowd don't like it every time Morrison goes walkabout like that. They like to see fighters coming forward. And it'll be interesting to see how the American judges score this, because in America they do tend to score more on aggression. Foreman still coming forward. Morrison looking a little bit tired.
Yes, the crowd don't like it, but Morrison's doing the right thing because he's keeping out of the way of George Foreman and he's not allowing George Foreman to hit him back. So he's getting his combination in, and then he's getting away.
Ain't no more. Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. He's hitting this boy. He's about ready to quit any time, but he's getting room. So keep your hands up and get close to us.
A lot of combinations.
He's about to quit at any time. Morrison, the Foreman people.
He's going to come at you here now, okay?
Yeah, I think they're trying to give George a lift up. They don't sound very confident.
7-7 combinations. Get on the inside. Be tight. Be tight on the inside. Look for
He looks very tired, Morrison.
I'm sure he will be.
Champ, ain't no more. Don't let him turn his back on you.
Punch. You understand what I'm saying? Steal the last 30 seconds. That's right. They telling him he's got to knock out.
Well, they're teaching him an old pro's trick, really. Looked good in the last bit of the round.
How about a round of applause?
for Tommy Morrison and George Foreman. Final round!
Last round then. 12th round. And according to both Glenn McCrory and myself, Foreman with some work to do if he wants this WBO heavyweight championship 20 years after he won the real thing up against Joe Frazier. Morrison is desperately tired now.
He is desperately tired, and Foreman is coming on strong. I think he realizes he's going to have to try and stop and knock Tommy Morrison out to win this fight.
Jersey Joe Walcott became a world champion at the age of 37 in 1951 against Desard Charles. At 44, it's asking a lot though. Morrison now really is coming, you feel, towards the end of his tether. I think as far as he and his corner are concerned, maybe that final bell can't come soon enough. But they know they're in the stretch now.
That's right. He psyched him up, and he was very psyched up in the last round. He's took Foreman shots, and he's still there. He's answered a lot of questions, and to me, he's put in a very good performance. Good shots from Morrison. He's doing the right thing because he's getting off, he's throwing his shots, and then he's going on walkabouts, he's getting out of the way. It doesn't look that good when he walks away. You know, when he doesn't seem to be looking at him, but it's putting Foreman off. Foreman's not throwing any shots back.
Oh, left hook, Foreman. Morrison sagging against the ropes. There's the countdown, bottom right of your picture. It might be significant. There's a timeout here. I think it could be because of that. Yes, it is, because the bandage around the glove on Foreman has come loose, and now it's good news for Tommy Morrison because he could do with that break.
All right, that's good enough. That's good enough. It'll lay. That's good enough. Come on, Charlie. Come on, we got it. All right, here we go. Time in. Come on, here we go.
Foreman's got to throw everything now if he's going to stop it. He's going to win this fight. I think time is running out for George Foreman.
Morrison's boxed pretty well. It's gone loose again, that bandage, but there's only 17 seconds to go. I think that Mills Lane will let it run now. Well, how have the judges seen this?
All right, hey, move it. Time.
For my money, Morrison's just done enough. He thinks so too. There goes the bell to end it. Foreman swollen around the face. The corner are celebrating there. Has Tommy Morrison become the WBO heavyweight champion at the second attempt? Has he inflicted what is only the fourth defeat in the 76 fight career of George Foreman? Has Foreman boxed his last round?
Well, we'll find out officially very shortly, but I think it could well be that way. I think Foreman in his corner felt that he was losing near the end, but Foreman couldn't pick the pace, so he couldn't lift himself. I think the old fire has gone.
And that's perfectly understandable. It's a miracle that he's still fighting, isn't it? Because we all laughed when he first made the comeback,
right.
but he gained our respect.
That's right. At first it seemed a joke, but then he did everything right, and he got rid of everybody. Put up a great fight with Evander Holyfield.
Well, he's got the shades on already to cover up those bruised and swollen eyes, Foreman. We wait for the judges' scorecards to be totted up, as Morrison scored the most significant win of his career. He's beaten the likes of James Tillis, Pinton Thomas, Carl Williams in the past, but they were all really on the way down. And of course, I suppose you might say Morrison, even if he beats Foreman, there'll be those who claim, well, he beat an aging Foreman, but it would be a very big win for him indeed, with Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe both clamoring to fight him in what could be a $25 million fight. But here it is now. Here's the result.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me remind you, the winner of this bout will be the WBO World Heavyweight Champion. We go to the scorecards. Dalby Shirley and Patricia Jarman both score the bout 117 to 110. Jarman scores the bout 118 to 109 for the winner, new champion Tommy the Duke Morrison.
Yes, well, Morrison is a clear winner. Morrison, a very big winner, 117 to 110, and even bigger with that 118, 109 scorecard. Morrison is the champion, and will his next fight be against Lennox Lewis? Encouraging words for Foreman in his ear. That could have been George Foreman's swan song, and I think probably it should be. Don't you, Glenn?
Yes, I think it will have been. He hinted at it beforehand that this would be his last fight, and I think now it would be. He just didn't have it. He just couldn't pick it up. But I think that was a good performance for Morrison. I thought, you know, he boxed an educated fight against a guy who's winning and still knocking tough contenders out, George Foreman. And Morrison looked much improved to me.
Well, we'll try to have a word with Tommy Morrison in a minute. Frank Maloney, Lennox Lewis's manager, says they've already agreed a 50-50 split with Morrison if they fight him, and it would be around a $25 million fight. Foreman doesn't look too unhappy with it. I think Morrison's greater youth, ambition and desire, he needed the win more. I think that came through in what we saw.
That's right, 20 years had to make a difference. Against two fighters who are much the same, who rely on strength, who rely on power. You know, Morrison just had too much quickness. And he showed a good boxing brain. He threw his combinations and then got out of the way. He didn't, you know, he still gave George Foreman at that age enough respect that he didn't stand and have a row with him. Didn't stand right on his toes.
Tommy Morrison, you did a great job in this fight. You were in control all of the way. I think the only thing that we were wondering about as the fight progressed seemed to me that you got tired early. Gil Clancy thought it might be a problem late. It proved not to be. Can you talk about that?
Well, one thing that we concentrate on is pushing ourselves to the limit in the gym. When you push yourself to the limit, you get to know your limits as a fighter, and that's one thing that hurt us prior to the Mercer bout. We'd never been past the 6th round, but we did a lot of extra work to try and prepare for this, because I knew it was going to come with someone as big and as lumbering as George. He fought a hell of a fight. Just a matter of just a little younger and a little quicker.
Well, and you stuck to your game plan, I thought, very intelligently throughout. What did George say to you at the end when he came over to your corner?
He told me that I did a hell of a job. He told me God bless, he loved me, and he said never cuss in front of people.
Well, good counsel from a guy who's certainly been a credit to his sport and brought so much life into the heavyweight ranks. Now people are going to expect the same from you, Tommy. What do you want to do right now apart from rest?
Well, at this point, I'm going to go home, relax for about a week, and I'm going to continue working, because one thing that I didn't do prior to the Mercer bout is I didn't always utilize my time the way that I should. As a young athlete, sometimes that's difficult. But I'm a more dedicated athlete at this point, and a more mature athlete, and I'm going to prove it to the world.
It seemed like, from what you told us yesterday, your trainer, Tommy Vergis, you had a game plan to jab, to move, to be intelligent, not make mistakes, and you carried it out.
One thing that's George Foreman's he's a very hard puncher, and he has a devastating jab, but one thing that you can't let him get set, and that's one thing that the jab did for us is make him reset each and every time that he's set.
All right, we've got George Foreman here, who has already congratulated you and given you good counsel. We want to see the film. George, is this, I'm sure the first question everybody wants to know, you lost, is this it? What about wife Joan, and what are you going to do?
Well, I've got a date with Kentucky Fried Chicken, and it's those buffalo wings that I'm interested in. Now,
A lot of people like that original chicken, but I'm against it. I like the crunchy-fied.
After you eat the chicken.
Yeah. Then I got a date to eat some wieners because I'm cooling out on a hamburger. It's going to be 2 hot dogs and 1 bun, and I'm going to eat my head off. I've had a great stay in boxing. I've enjoyed it. It's a wonderful time. The people of Las Vegas have always come out in numbers to see us fight. We're so happy about the turnout, and it was a good fight, 12 rounds. For the first time, a fight went a long time. The people are proud. I'm proud. The judges have spoken. May God bless everybody.
It sounds like you're saying goodbye for boxing.
Well, I don't intend to box.
Hello, TV.
That was my goal. I fought for the title twice, and I enjoyed myself. Now I got to raise a herd of children.
George, nonetheless, this was another great performance by you. Maybe not in terms of the scoring punches over the course of the fight. You showed at 44 you had the stamina, you had the nerve, you had the pride to go to 12 and try to make a fight of it all the way to the end.
Yeah, I almost started to knock him out, but I said, look, the kid's gone 12 rounds. I'm not going to even go for a knockout. And then I realized I lost the fight, so I should have went for the knockout. But I'm going for the chicken, I tell you. Man, I'm hungry now. I've went I don't know how many days without a good meal. I'm going to settle down and get me some rice and gravy.
Are you saying farewell to the game?
Oh, well, I'm going to be sticking around to kind of enjoy it because boxing's really been good to me. So I'll be helping out. HBO still got me with them, and they serve some good meals in between fights.
You're still a good bobber and weaver, too, George. Thank you very much.
I don't use a bobber.
Congratulations for a fantastic...
Well, he was dodging the issue about whether that was his last fight, but it kind of sounds like it, doesn't it? But all the one-liners still going out from George Foreman. Call me anything you like, he once said, but don't call me late for dinner. But the real story here is Tommy Morrison has at last arrived as a top-class world heavyweight. He's proved it with that win over George Foreman, and his next fight now just might be against Britain's Lennox Lewis, and the date they're talking about is October the 15th. Negotiations about to start.
I think it's signed, sealed and delivered with Lennox. But anyway, let's talk about the end of a legend, really, isn't it?
Yes, it's...
about time.
Yeah. But, you know, it's like, that fight left a lot to be debated by me because he looks like... Because he's got a new television series coming out
That's
afterwards.
right, George, yeah.
And that's why he can't announce that he's going to retire, because if you announce you retire, you're not a marketable commodity as a boxer. So he can't say anything yet, which will keep people on their edge, which will get them interested in the series. He went out of that fight with a lot of sympathy. He went the distance with a very young man, man who tried. He's done all the right things. That must be part of the sitcom.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. Anyway.
Let's talk about the new champion.
Yes.
I still think he's got his limitations. A little bit one-dimensional and a little bit lacking of stamina.
Yeah.
But he is the champion, but George faded.
In all fairness to him, I must admit, like, although he did lose, seemed to get tired, but then, in all fairness, everybody that's fought George Foreman has got that tired by the end of the fight, because you've got a very big man marching forward in front of you, hitting you. And I give Tommy Morrison, again, second credits. He took the shots that George Foreman did land on him very well, which, again, surprised me.
Yeah, he found a chin from somewhere. Was going to question his chin going into the fight, but he did take some great shots.
Yeah, he took some good shots. In all fairness, you can't criticise Morrison's performance, but you can't praise it. So he just leaves it all open, doesn't it? And the funniest thing about it is he's got a similar style that's not dissimilar to mine in the way he fights, sort of crouching fighter. And I've always believed that Lennox has problems with those people.
We've mentioned that before. We're going to take a quick break. We'll talk some more after that. Don't go away. Welcome back. Now, one thing we haven't mentioned about Tommy Morrison is he's white, and he's a world champion. The first one since Kutsia.
No, I didn't even think that needed mentioning. I thought people could see that.
But people should, we should draw people's attention to it. Kutsia was the last one, 82,
yes,
81,
yeah,
can't remember.
Was the last one, but he, again, only had a portion of a title. What I think the general public would like to see is a white heavyweight champion who's a genuine champion.
With a legitimate title, maybe. Let's not question the WBO and get into politics. But he's now got the chance to fight Lennox for the WBC version of the title. That's important.
And on that performance there against George Foreman, in all fairness, whatever criticisms I had before the fight, he did prove one thing to me, that he can take the punch, which is the main thing. And that was quite important, because I thought that was a major flaw, but it's proved not to be. And he's obviously fit enough, because he finished the way other fighters finished against George Foreman. So his stamina, it should not be in question. So, hey, maybe there might be the real deal. There might be some luck out there for some people.
But even George's power, Lennox, the way Lennox punches, he's so quick, so explosive.
But I think it's the styles. Again, it's the styles. Lennox, he comes in bobbing and weaving. If you see Shanae, Billups, possibly myself and some others who've had similar styles, have taken Lennox a few rounds.
So why do you think it will cause a problem? They'll come in under the long reach?
He'll come in under the long reach, duck and bobbing, and I'm sure he punches harder than Billups. Billups and possibly harder than myself. So it's Lennox, and this is going to be a fight. There's everything at stake here, and it's going to be in America.
This is a lot more of a fight than that one. I think old Father Time had called the tune for a long, long time. It'd been gone on 4 or 5 years too long.
That was like an interest fight, wasn't it? Everybody was interested.
Because it's George Foreman, because it's a legend.
Yeah.
That's all really.
And to see if Tommy Morrison maybe did have the chin that white heavyweights don't normally have. So the fights, it's proven that George Foreman, nice to see you, goodbye. And it's showed Tommy Morrison, regardless of your doubts, he can take a shot, he's fit. Hey, maybe he can deliver.
All saying Lennox is going to fight him. Bo is waiting to it, because I think Bo will both going to be vying for him, because there's not that many marketable commodities about that you can fight, is there?
I think the Lewis match would be a better match, because you've got the Anglo connection to it and the Canadian connection to it. You know,
especially if we had it here in this country, which Lennox says he wants to defend the title here. Let's hope he does.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's hope they pay him enough too.
We'll see. Well, it's been a great night of boxing, and if you tuned in only for the Foreman Morrison fight, you'd have missed 2 earlier results. Firstly, the WBO junior welterweight title, that changed hands. Zach Padilla won. He beat Carlos Gonzalez, 117-111, 115-114, 117-112. Padilla, the new champion. Then the golden boy, the reigning Olympic lightweight champion, Oscar De La Hoya. That left hook there was sufficient to open a cut on Troy Dorsey. TKO 1 was the result, 8-0 with 7 KOs. Now, let me remind you, Duke McKenzie defends his WBO super bantamweight title against Daniel Jimenez. Live and exclusive Wednesday night, 10 p.m. Don't miss that. And of course, a couple of weeks later, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Andy Till fights Laurent Boudani for the European light middleweight title, Wednesday, June the 23rd, live and exclusive from 9. And there's a couple of cracking other fights on that as well, so don't miss it. There you go, 7 o'clock. If you want to watch it all again, George Foreman, Tommy Morrison. Morrison winning on points, De La Hoya, Dorsey, and Gonzalez against Zach Padilla. 2-hour show starting at 7. Well, that closes things for tonight. If you join us, thanks for staying with us. Hope you enjoyed. Proved to be a great night's boxing from Gary and myself. Good night. Rejoin the ringside team on Wednesday for McKenzie against Jimenez. See you then. Bye.